Because he knows what he's trying to say.
He definitely knows, yeah.
He's probably trying to call me, wondering why I'm not answering your phone at the office.
Back at the house.
I was kind of relaxing, right,
Listen to the, who's texting?
All right, everybody, we'll start with that.
All righty, it's 6:01. I guess we'll call the meeting to order, and I'd like you to remain standing when we're done, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As I guess everybody is aware, we had a tremendous loss in the township this week. Bad beyond belief, and I just wanted to express the township's sincere condolences to the family and otherwise people that knew the chief and the fire assistant chief from Walnut Town. It was a horrendous loss. Both Rob and Jeff will be missed. It's one of those things, not much you can do. But does anybody want to add anything to that? All right, I'd just like to observe a moment of silence in remembrance. Thank you. I'd like to announce that we had an executive session held after our March 9th meeting to discuss some ongoing litigation. We'll look at public participation next. Lisa Ravenel.
Hi, my name is Lisa Ravenel. I live in the Willow Crest development. Can you hear me okay? I'm here to request clarification and transparency regarding on how the township assesses and funds the street lighting. First, can you explain the township's current policy on street lighting, specifically which properties are assessed for their costs and how those assessments are calculated? Second, are the properties along Pleasant Hill Road and any other road currently being charged for their streetlights? If they are, is that assessment calculated by using the same method applied to our development, such as linear footage? If those properties are not being charged, can you explain the rationale for treating our development differently? Next, can you explain why linear footage is used as the basis for these assessments? And how does that method accurately reflect the actual cost or benefit, particularly in cases like ours where there are only a small number of lights and they are spaced far apart? There's only 8 lights in that entire development. Also, is there a specific ordinance or written policy that governs this assessment method? And if so, can that documentation be made available to residents? And finally, has the township considered incorporating street lighting into the general budget rather than assessing specific developments separately, especially given that newer developments contribute additional tax revenue? I'm asking these questions to better understand how this policy is applied and to ensure that it is being implemented consistently and fairly across the township. Thank you for your time, and I would appreciate any clarification you can provide. And one more thing, your road crew did an amazing job with snow removal in our development, and I want to thank you for that.
All day the best. Thanks. Where will it go?
Calm down about it.
So, can you speak to that a little bit? Chris, on how that,
Yeah, there's a provision in the second-class township code which governs the township about
Correct.
streetlight taxes. And there are, I believe, two different methodologies which are permitted under the second-class township code for assessing streetlight tax. And I'm trying to
Correct, one
find
is
the
linear and
provision.
one is dividing by the amount of people on the road, on the street.
Okay, so you already.
Yes, we have
researched
47 homes, and if you take what, that exorbitant amount of electric that is gonna be paid for those 8 lights, I don't know if you looked at that, it's ridiculous, the amount that is gonna be cost. If that would be divided by 47 people, the cost would be spread better because there are only 8 lights. I have over 300 feet of linear feet in front of my house. If I sit on my front porch, I cannot see any of those lights. They are so haphazardly put in that development. I could see linear footage if absolutely I should be paying for those lights. I am not above sharing the load for these 8 lights amongst 47 of us. We have a very close-knit community. We all get along well. But whether this is working in another place or not working in another place, it's just not, it's not set up properly for the way Willow Crest was set up. And do they pay for their lights on Pleasant Hill Road?
right, the only other place we have a light tax is in Virginville, to my knowledge.
Street tax, yes.
So those lights must be billed, I don't know who pays for those.
That, the residents pay for
The
those.
residents pay
Yes,
for that.
On Pleasant Hill Road?
yes,
So they're tax linear footage in front of their home too?
yes.
Well, wait a minute, no, they pay Meta directly, or do they just streetlight
Yes.
tax as well?
And there's a separate line item on the budget for each of these streets that has their own bills, because no, that money cannot be used for anything.
Right,
You and I talked on the phone.
yes.
Yeah, we're aware of that, and we're aware of the lighting plan that wasn't our plan. I'm not sure, I wish Scott was here to talk to that, but I believe that was done by
Grande.
Grande's lighting plan. I agree with you, it's not great. Probably, they could use a lot more lights and they could be higher. But what, the approach that we took on that is that we had no idea what the cost to operate that would be. We could take a ballpark, but we weren't sure. And we're not looking at this, we're not making any money. The tax will be directly proportional to what it costs us. We don't have a bill yet, so we don't know where that's going to be. But we will adjust that once we get a bill. We have no data to work with. I'm sure, can't say for sure, but I'm sure it'll be reduced. Because we have this first one that we have that has LED lighting in it, much more efficient, far less, and here there's only 8 of them.
There's 8 of them, and please, I would invite you to drive over there
Oh,
and
I mean,
look. I'm sure that the police can also tell us, driving through there with those lights in the street aren't helping them either. It's like a 20-foot circle around, they're ridiculous. We might as well just turn them off.
I'm not sure who did the light plan for that.
I know who did.
It's not good, and we know that, we're aware of that.
But can something be remedied in the future, because there are only 8, and they are not, the people who have the largest linear footage have no light in front of their house. And again, we are perfectly willing to pay our 1/47th of that electric bill.
Now, on the other side, you have to think about it, if there's only 8 lights and they're 40 watts apiece, it's good to operate these things.
It should be $10 a month.
It's gonna be very inexpensive. But we had to start somewhere. And we didn't even know at that point what lights were gonna be there. We just knew they were light, we knew, got an idea of the number, we didn't know what the wattage was gonna be. So we will make adjustments when we actually get the data and find out what it actually costs.
So will the people of Willow Crest be reimbursed that money, or will it be
What I would
credited for their money?
What I would anticipate is a credit. rather
Yeah,
than
that's what we
reimbursement.
would do, we would credit, it'd be much easier. to just
All right,
credit.
and because they're gonna ask me that.
Yeah, like I say, we're aware of the light, I mean, there's not much we can do about the lighting now. I would have added a lot more fixtures there if it would have been me. But wasn't our plan. And that we didn't really realize what you were gonna end up with until, well, it took forever to get them energized too. At how it would take 2 years to get them
We know.
energized.
We
So-
know.
So it was a bad situation. It was just made worse by the design. But we are aware of it. We've discussed it. So once we get our initial bill, we can do the math and figure out, then we'll have a good idea what it costs us. And then we can make the calculation. But we're not, what we're charging you is not going to subsidize anybody else's light bill in the township. It's going to be used directly to pay what it costs us. So it'll be a pass-through. We're not looking to fund anything else. But we just don't know what that number is going to be at this point. But we will make it adjustments when we get a bill. And I don't know when that,
Yeah, we haven't got one yet.
it took them 2 years to hook up the lights. It'll probably take them 2 years to send us a bill. So we don't know that. They're not,
Well, then you should take 2 years to pay. And then if they turn off the electric to the lights, that's all good too.
yeah, they're quick to do that, but not quick to do anything else. Is there something I missed there that you asked about?
No, it's just the chart, other than the linear footage charge, as opposed to the amount of homes in the development. Because even once it's regulated out, it's still those of us living on corners, and that's a corner lot in a town too. The person on the corner lot is being charged for double the amount. I'm paying for 350 feet. My neighbor across the street is paying for 40 feet. My backyard is small, his backyard is, like, it's because it's an oval.
Yeah, I get it.
Are the lights at intersections of roads?
There is only 2 lights at intersection, sorry, I apologize, there are 3 at intersection roads. When you come in, right, thank you. When you come in Rhino, there's one right in front of the house where, an empty house. So that's at that stop sign. If you turn right, it goes around, and at the end of Middletown, at that intersection, across from the stop sign is a light. And then when you come up Ensor, the same thing. You come to the stop sign and across the street is a
Because
light.
those are the locations that I would have considered the highest priority for streetlights.
Absolutely.
Those are the intersections.
But I'm on a back corner, and I have the biggest, these people have the other largest of linear feet, along with 2 homes in the cul-de-sacs. And we have no light back there. There's a light kind of across the street near the emergency alley going over toward the swimming pool. And that, it does nothing. I'm on that rounded corner, right across the street from that, if you're familiar with it. My house kind of sits in the center of the pie.
Yeah.
And we get no light from either that one or the one around the corner, which is fine with me.
Right, there's a question I would need to research about whether the cost could be spread to every house in that development. The way the statute reads is that the allocation of costs can be from several different formulas, but one of them would be through uniform annual assessments made upon benefited properties on a front foot basis, or by an equal assessment upon each property benefited based upon the assessment for county tax purposes. So, or by a combination of the above methods or other equitable means of assessment as the Board of Supervisors may determine. So it sounds like there could be some flexibility on the part of the board, and I think an argument could be made that every residence in that entire development is benefited from the streetlights if they're located at intersections. But I'm not going to say definitively that that's a permissible process until I research it. I've read you what the statute says, but I want to see if there's any case law interpreting that statute to confirm or to at least investigate whether or not it would be
Absolutely,
permissible.
we are not saying we don't benefit from them at all, because of it, they are there. But from what I read, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was two choices, you had linear foot or divided by the amount of
No, there's
homes.
actually 5.
Oh my, those are the two, I found two.
Okay.
And we're willing to say divided by 47. You know, that's perfectly fine, because we do benefit by those stop signs. But as far as me paying 317 feet of it,
Mhm.
that just doesn't seem balanced.
Sounds a little disproportionate.
Thank you for the word, yes. Okay. Thank you very
And I
much for your
don't
time.
think that if Chris takes a look at this and we determine that we can divide the bill by however, I don't know that, I can't speak for the whole board. In my mind, it doesn't matter to me if we figured that that's the better way to do it.
I agree.
Um,
It was run by Brian.
Yeah, and we'd have to ask Brian, but I don't see a reason why we couldn't change that.
Yeah, I mean, the lighting plan was for the development of the entire development, not for just the houses where the lights are located.
But we would definitely consider that.
Thank you very much.
But what we'll have to do is make certain that it's something that we can do without any problem. But I don't know. I don't think that would take an act of Congress to do that.
No, it
That could be
appears that
difficult.
there's some flexibility here, but I just want to confirm that there hasn't been a decision saying you can't do it the way we're describing.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes.
I just have one, I want to ask the question, and pardon me if it's a dumb question, but are we sure that, now we just moved in there like a year and a half ago, so we didn't buy new in there. But my question is, in the back of my mind, are we sure that when that development was established, right from the get-go, with Grande and with the township, that there was no stipulation in that contract, if you will, from the get-go, that those lights would have been, so whoever bought new into the town, into those homes, if they didn't pay for that part of their contract of buying that home for the lighting.
No, it was, my understanding is the lighting plan was part of the review and approval process for the entire development. It was not a property by property analysis and some kind of a contract with the property built, either Grande or with the purchaser of the initial home. It wasn't like that. It was a lighting plan for the entire development.
Just asking the question.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Because hypothetically, if the lot owners would have had the discretion about putting in lights, they would have tied them into their home electrical system and paid for it directly, but that's not how this was designed. This was designed to be a community lighting system.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Looks like, is it Wilson Ravenel?
Oh, Mason.
Yeah.
Mason. Good evening. My name is Mason Ravenald, and I am also in the, that's quite all right. I'm also in the Willow Crest development, and I've had a bit of a small but long-standing concern relating to non-resident traffic in our development. So it appears to many cars that pass through that Middletown Road has some sort of thoroughfare or connects to Fleetwood proper from the Willow Crest development. This is, however, not the case. Also, on a lot of GPSs, we've seen that the alleyway in the corner of the Willow Crest development appears to be a through route, which it is not. It is used exclusively by emergency vehicles and the fire station that's right there. We get a lot of non-resident traffic who appear to be trying to go into Fleetwood proper and drive quite fast and erratically when they realize that there is no outlet. And I think a very easy way to remedy this would be a no outlet sign placed at the entrance to the Willow Crest development next to the welcome sign. It's becoming a rather large concern as we move into the summer months. I'm a teacher myself. We have a lot of young students, young children playing in the street with their scooters and their bikes. And the last thing they need are these irate drivers as they drive through our development, searching for some place to go into Fleetwood, even though there is none. And I think that would be very easily solved by some sort of notice that it's not a connecting route.
Yeah, I guess we could take that under consideration.
But isn't there internal circulation? I mean, the no outlet sign, I think, might only be appropriate when it's a dead end type road or a
Yeah, that's
cul-de-sac
what I
road.
was gonna question.
And
Or does
if
it
the
mean that
road is
there's no other way
improved-
out?
Yeah, the main entrance is the only way in or out for the Willow Crest development. There's no public access road that goes all the way into Fleetwood unless you
Well, I
drive right
understand
past
that
it.
part of it. Anyway, I think we would have to research whether that would be a permissible use of that particular sign. There are PennDOT guidelines on use of road signs. But if it's permissible and it's discretionary, you may consider doing it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem doing it if it's permissible.
Yeah.
That might lessen it. We can't do anything about GPS.
Yeah.
They're gonna bring you in there regardless.
No, there's no easy fix.
But that may be a deterrent to people when they see the no outlet sign.
Yeah.
It's just that he's right, that's not a dead end there technically.
Yeah, Sam, like on our cul-de-sac, we have a no through traffic. I don't know if that, I mean, there might be other options.
Yeah.
I don't know if that may mean that's whatever's permissible, yes. We have to look into it.
Yeah, let me, Scott would be the one to approach him and see what he says, but we'll see what we can do with that. We'll make a note of it.
There's just, to me, there has to be an easier way to address that, even if no outlet.
Here he comes.
Sorry, guys.
Just in time.
All right.
Willow Crest,
Yes.
we got through the lighting discussion.
Okay.
Now we're looking at,
Yeah. it's-
Mason here thinks that the traffic going in and out of there is more than it should be.
Yeah, we get a lot of non-resident traffic in our development.
Because GPS is telling them they can get into Fleetwood.
So the question is, if a no outlet sign is placed at the main entrance to the development, is that permissible? And I said, there are PennDOT guidelines on use of traffic signs. I don't know if that would require any particular conditions. in
We
order to
can,
be
we
used.
can double check it, but technically, I think we could probably post that if we think it's a reasonable place to put it. So I think because it's probably intersecting with another road and there's another cul-de-sac back there, you could probably stretch it either way. That, well, there's a couple roads back there they connect to, but there really is no outlet.
It's a loop.
Yeah,
It's a loop. The only way in or out is the main entrance to the
Is
development.
there a boulevard?
It's deceptive in its placement. It looks like there should be a direct route.
And
Okay.
the scary thing is they're coming in there and they're going into the cul-de-sac that's closest to Fleetwood. And they're realizing there's no road going over and they spin around and they are hotter than hornets and they go flying. And we have a bunch of middle school kids right now. They're all out on their bicycles. I mean, they're great kids, they're minding their own business. They're behaving. They're not trashing the place. And I'm afraid that one of them's gonna get hit. And they do the same with the alley going to, so we have witnessed Amazon crashing through the chains because they were pissed that they couldn't use that access going over to Fleetwood. So if there's some kind of signage at the beginning saying no outlet, no thoroughfare, whatever wording, because they're coming in there getting upset and somebody's gonna get hurt because let's face it, this is the age of crazy drivers.
I know I'm saying our call second, no through traffic.
Yep.
I don't know if that's an option, maybe look into it and see.
I think we can,
No outlet if it's maybe but one combination or whatever.
ultimately, I think those signs are advisory.
Yeah,
So
there's
it's
no
not necessarily,
penalty for
there's,
violation.
yeah, there's not an enforcement with it. Knowing that it really is the only connection to that you're in and out to the township roads, by definition, I mean, you could put whether it's thoroughfare or no outlet.
It's just to
I think
maybe
there is a
deter
way.
some of the anger.
Yeah, I don't think there's any,
I think I would lean
Problem
more
with it.
towards the no outlet.
Yeah.
That's not gonna slow
Yes,
down the
thank you very
Amazon
much.
drivers.
Yeah, it's not, but it could maybe stop them from coming in because they might realize at the entrance, oh, GPS is wrong.
Their whole world is up by, yes.
What's that?
Stop by from Amazon.
Oh my goodness, those guys are lunatics.
does it show up on maps that you can go through?
GPS takes you in
Yeah, it
there
does.
like you can go through and all of a sudden you get, GPS takes you to ferries where there's no ferry, waterways where there's no bridges.
Yeah, the issue appears to be there's a small alleyway used exclusively for emergency vehicles and the fire station that's right there next to the development. And on a lot of GPSs and maps, it'll show up as a public thoroughfare, which is not.
I mean, we've talked about that before, that when it shows up on the mappings, to try to get that resolved is a bigger, it's
So
difficult.
a no outlet sign is, I think, gonna be better
I-
than nothing.
I think the no outlet sign, regardless if it was viewed as, well, you should have, that road should be where there's no outlet. I think you could post that there to simply try to help have people understand that you're gonna be coming back this way, whether it's after you go through a road or two, or you're coming back this way. I think in this case, if it doesn't meet that definition exactly, I don't think there's any repercussions for doing so. I think we could probably do that.
Yes, thank you very much.
No problem.
Sorry.
How about the Finks?
We're here.
You're the Finks.
Yeah, and we're just the same with the lighting, and you addressed all of that, and we thank you for that.
All right. And we move on. Approval of the minutes from the last meeting.
I looked through them.
Went through, I didn't see a problem. I'll make a motion to approve.
I was second.
All in favor?
Aye.
New business,
It shows up the street.
new business, police report.
Good evening, everybody. I'm sorry to folks with Cleveland Police. I'm going to go over some of the details what Cleveland Police handled in March. And if you have any questions, we're going to try to answer them. If I don't, I'll research it for you. We handled 151 incidents in March Township, investigated 25 traffic crashes, issued 39 traffic citations, made seven criminal arrests. We investigated 8 UCR reportable crimes in the township. 83 vehicle stops were conducted. Our criminal investigator had 18 hours of follow-up investigations for township cases, 5 hours of court time. We handled a cyber harassment of a child, disorderly conduct, an assault, an harassment, resisting arrest, and 5 fraud and theft-related cases. As far as personnel, we have 2 part-time officers and 1 full-time officer have been offered employment. We're still waiting for background results for an additional applicant. And officers will be starting their training in April with a field training officer. The only other thing is the projected activities. We have our LSA grant contract has been signed. Does anyone have any comments about any particular issues or anything going on that they need
like us to be aware of?
No, I don't.
I don't know. Thank you. If anyone needs anything, including members of the Walnut Town Fire Company who are here to support here as well. So it's been a rough week for everybody. And I can assure you that we're going to do everything we can to hold that person accountable involved in a traffic accident. With the additional charges filed, I already filed multiple felony charges and misdemeanor charges, and have probably 50 to 100 hours more work on the fatal crash reconstruction before then. So,
Just one question.
yes, sir.
So I certainly know that you cover the borough. What townships all do you cover besides the borough?
We cover Richmond Township full-time, along with the borough, and we cover Rescue Manor Township 80 hours a week.
Okay, that's it.
So, and there's a card for that time, card just handling Rescue Manor.
Okay, so what's the matter? Richmond and
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments about anything?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care. Have a good evening.
All right, code enforcement. All right, we issued a total of 9 permits for this period, ending 3/28. Total construction value of $241,334.48. There were 8 residential building and zoning permits and 3 non-residential. We also performed 24 building inspections for the period. Permits that were issued, one of the non-residential ones was a sprinkler system for building that's being converted to apartments. Then the typical solar panels and electrical permits, there's a pool going in. The typical things we see at this time of year. And also some sheds for accessory structures. Then as far as property maintenance, we did our typical monthly patrol. I've been in contact with the property owner at 11 Farmers Drive. He's been kind of keeping in touch with me as far as the progress that the guys are making on that project. So
They're still pursuing that?
there they are. Now, he did call with questions about another use this past week, but he didn't say that, that they're abandoning it. He said they're plowing ahead. So hopefully we get that taken care of. Working with the folks at the Old Order Mennonite Church over on Fleetwood Lions Road to get them permitted. They're going to need to go before the zoning hearing board, which is scheduled for next week, I believe, or the week after.
I think it's the week after.
Okay. So that one's progressing. I know there's something going on over at Forge Hill Road with a little shanty for a horse that was built and not permitted. We're working on that. I did receive a call from the complaint from the township that was received for a property up in Virginville, Main Street, property with a lot of debris and items sitting outside. It's kind of a new property. We haven't had any contact with them before. The gentleman is a disabled vet, and he contacted me right away. We had a good conversation. He said he will work to get things cleaned up there. It's one of those that you hate to see somebody dinged like that, but we'll work with him, give him all the time he needs to get the property taken care of. So we had the zoning hearing for property. There's this one coming up, Big Pheasant
That was already.
Okay, and that was granted. Yeah, other than that, I don't have too much. Does the board have any questions on any of the properties or?
No, I'm pretty much up to speed on everything, I think.
Okay,
But, we're in good shape. Thank you.
yeah,
So,
May I ask a question, please?
Sure.
I'm Ryan, I'm the lieutenant for Walnut Town Fire Company. You had mentioned about a disabled vet that has some debris, and could you share like what needs to be cleaned there?
well, there was, if I could have my photo on me, I could show you the pictures. There was old grills and lawnmowers and that type of thing. It's right on Main Street. Can I ask your,
I'm just asking because if, we have a pretty decent amount of manpower in Virginville Fire Company. I don't want to speak for you guys, but, if he's a disabled vet and he needs help getting his property cleaned up, if there's a way that maybe, we can pull our 2 crews together and assist him so that he doesn't face any disciplinary, repercussions from the township.
well, that makes me feel good, that somebody in the community is willing to reach out and help somebody. I can provide you with an address, probably a phone number. If you'd like to be in contact with them, I can even email you a couple pictures so you know what you might be dealing with.
I mean, I don't want to speak for the whole department, but I mean, I feel like if we can help somebody out, then,
Yeah.
maybe we can pull some guys together and
And there's
See what we can do.
some overgrown bushes and things in the back of the property, which would be at the end of the Grange parking lot. So that's kind of gets into the back of the property there.
yeah, I'd be willing to look at it and see if we can help it in some way.
Okay. I'll get your contact information then. and
Yes.
provide that for you.
Wonderful. Make that up.
I just had a question.
Sure.
We talked about repaving our driveway because it's dropping, like where our garage is, the topping. Do we need a permit to get like a top? You do, and where do we?
Well, that'll be, Ronnie Folk is doing
Yeah,
it. He'll take care of that.
so we come to,
Sometimes.
oh,
I think he'll take it. I mean, we'll
Okay, so-
check it.
All right.
But I would, because we had it, that's what we did at our previous property. We did the same thing. We had them come in and put a topping on it. And the same thing, he took care of that there with the permit. So I'm assuming,
Okay,
but if not, where do we go then?
you would just come here to the
Just
township
come here,
office,
okay,
and Jen would have an app, or you can get the application off of our website.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right,
All good.
we're good.
Very good. SEO report. Not a lot going on. You see that email when they were running the generator? We're testing it and it was working, which was good. Other than that, so no, not a lot to report this one. Good. Wilsonville Fire Company, anything you want to add?
Yeah, we had a very positive meeting a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, between us and Fleetwood Fire Company through that study. Brian was there, was able to be on the phone with that one. But with the next steps that we were going to start taking, I'm requesting that I get to talk to Brian, that we can push back the next meeting date so I get to meet with 32 to get them up to speed and start, working with them with the new lineup and new officers there.
Yeah.
I'm looking hopefully maybe in June, no later than July. But I want to make sure that the board is aware because you guys are just as involved as Fleetwood is. So I'm requesting that we can get to push that back.
I don't think that should be a problem. But when that passes.
I'll work with Brian because he's more with
Yeah,
that.
he's leading the charge
So,
on that.
yeah.
Good. Anything else?
No, I know that something came up for the run that we're doing, the 5K run. Jen has the information for that.
Was that on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay. I saw that in there, so.
it looks like they have insurance and everything.
Yeah, the insurance does run out before the races, but she will get me an updated bill right before the race happens.
And then anything from Walnut Town?
We need to make a
Yeah.
motion
Yeah.
Motion to approve the run, subject to the conditions.
that they have updated insurance.
Yeah, I thought it was on here somewhere else. I thought I had spotted it. But I'll make a motion that we approve the 5K run for Virginville.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, no, that's a different one. Okay. Minus. And anything we need to add to Walnut, from Walnut Town?
First things first, on behalf of my family as well as Jeff's, I want to thank the township for their flowers and coming out with the letter. We greatly appreciated it, the support from you guys. Just to kind of give a heads up, obviously, there's going to be some changes. I have already appointed my new officer lineup. They will go into effect May 1st. I will be stepping into the chief role. And then Ryan will actually be my assistant chief, and my captain will be the new deputy. Wednesday, we're having an emergency meeting to implement all new officer changes. At that point, I will have my new treasurer, and then Jen, I will get with you at some point with my new treasurer, so that way you
I can
guys
send
can
over the
start,
quarterly reports and such.
start getting all that squared away,
Yeah.
yes, and that way she can figure out what needs to be done when requesting and everything like that, but that's kind of where we sit at the moment. Everything's remaining as is till May 1st, and then it'll go into effect, minus the treasurer, that'll go in Wednesday. So that's just kind of the update we have at the moment.
If you need anything from us, let us know.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tom. All right. Thank you. Lifeline. Looks like an average.
We did not get a report from Topton.
I didn't see one, so I see it. All righty, old business. Do we have any old business? Nothing else. Okay. Engineers report.
So the solar farm, and I actually, Jeff, if you don't mind updating on the time extension there, it has to do more with the permitting end of it.
Should we just hold this part of the agenda? I'm still hoping that the applicant's attorney is going to be here tonight. And I was thinking he might think we're starting at 7. And so I'd like to just hold that item until later in the agenda.
What do you start with?
Okay. Thank you.
Well, then we'll move on. The Willow Crest Lighting.
Safe.
Apologies, yeah, sorry for being late.
Scott might be able to give us some clarification.
I think there was one question just to confirm.
Yep.
That the lighting plan was for the entire development, it wasn't a lot by lot analysis, it was looking at some lighting for the entire development. Is that a fairly accurate statement?
Yeah, and not being involved with the original review approvals of that, I had gone back and just looked at where the lights were placed and tried to just figure out what, this was the original approval plan.
Oh,
And
I have been searching for that, because there are supposed to be more lights than there are, isn't there? There's supposed
no,
to
they put in exactly the number that was on the plan.
be, okay,
And when I look at it and try to determine, and then the second sheet shows 2 more. So basically the lighting, to me, it seemed like they tried to place it so that there was at least one at each intersection. I did not try to look at that. There wasn't really they call it the foot candle grid to tell exactly how much lighting is what location. They're spread, I mean, after we spoke and looking at it, they're spread in a way that I would assume without being out there at night looking at it, that there is gonna be gaps where there's no lighting.
we see no light from our house.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how that came up. Usually, that's a discussion point of some, at like to some degree at the meetings. I just can't speak to that just because I wasn't party to it, but the lights really did get put in. The only alteration where they didn't, and I don't know if it really matters that much, is Rhino Drive. They didn't put the conduit up that roadway the way they should have, so what they did was pick the 2 existing utility poles, which was close to where they were supposed to be, and mounted a light on those so that there was lighting similar to what the plan showed. That was the only real modification that I saw from the plan. But yeah, I look back, when they got done with construction, they sent in an as-built so that it's just a document of anything that may have changed. And the lighting is relatively the same place as the
Our concern, because you weren't here, is just that we have a pie shape on the back on Ensor Court by the alley that goes over to the pool, which we now found out, my husband pulled it up, it is on GPS and it's a street name. Vines, it's part of Vine Street for Fleetwood. So that being said, our concern is we're being assessed 300 feet. We are paying $255 a year for the electric for the lights when there's none there. And there are other people paying $50 a year for those lights, and the light is in front of their house. And our concern was we would pay 1/47 of the electric bill, but we don't feel we should be paying the percentage. That's the only concern. Grande is grande, the lights are what we have. It doesn't matter whether they're there or not, it's gonna be dark. It's a 20-foot circle around those lights, they're ridiculous.
And just to bring you up to speed, we looked at the possibility.
Yeah, so they're gonna look.
Changing it to making it divisible by all the residents, as opposed to doing it by frontage.
Gotcha.
Chris is gonna look into it, see if there's any reason why we can't do that. But we don't have an objection to changing that. I think that would be a fair approach.
So do I.
And the people who are paying $40 to $50 and $100 are feeling the same way.
Right.
Like everybody is saying, when we talked about this amongst ourselves, they're like, wow, it's just this crazy.
But I'd imagine those numbers are gonna go.
Yeah,
down.
I would.
That was just an estimate so when we get the actual
And we
bill, it's
understand
not
that.
gonna be, I don't think close to what that, we can't say what it's gonna be, but it's.
Much easier to give money back than it is to ask for more money.
I know.
So that's the approach we took.
Okay.
And we'll address that.
Also, a question too. Is there a proposed playground there on that vacant lot there?
We've been working on that. There's
Oh,
a recreational area that.
oh, okay.
Take your time.
We're trying,
Take your time.
I get it from the other side. They'd like to see soccer fields there. And
Oh,
So there are soccer fields there. They play soccer all the time.
Right, but we're looking at a baseball.
Oh, for the
field.
next.
Nothing too wild, but just something, a good use of the open space.
mhm.
We were working on funding, and we didn't get anywhere with that yet, but we're gonna go back and do something. Aren't we, Robbie? Robbie's leading the charge on that. But, yeah, he's determined. We're gonna do something. Yeah, there is plans.
Okay. Thank you.
But, yeah, we'll take a look at that lighting thing. We'll make it.
Thank you.
Alrighty, road work.
You could, any Miller did some minutes, if we wanted to skip back and touch on the solar farm, we can.
Yeah, we can, where'd he go? Oh, there he is. Well, let's go back to the solar farm.
Yeah, sorry, we were.
Come on up and join the crowd.
We're just gonna start off with the request for the extension.
Yeah, we're here again. We're due for the 180-day temporary certificate of occupancy extension again. We're here requesting again, I think we sent some correspondence with an update on where the project is at this point. We've submitted the engineering calculations and conservation district, which have been accepted. I think we did the work that was discussed last fall to put the restrictor plate on detention basin 2. And I think they've been keeping up with the mowing and the landscaping, the trees around the project. They were replaced, some of them were replaced last fall. So we're here, we still aren't in a position where we can close out the NPDES permit with the Conservation District yet. They haven't signed off on that yet. So we're here asking for a temporary or an extension of the temporary certificate of occupancy so we can have some additional time to satisfy all those requirements and close that out.
I'll get that addressed this week.
Okay.
So I think certainly at the end of this discussion tonight, I would recommend to the board approval of that extension, but we wanted to take this opportunity to have a conversation with you about a couple of outstanding items, some of which are on your list. One is Mertz Road is an open issue. I believe that Heelstone is looking to DEPCON to work with the township on that, but ultimately it's Heelstone that needs to be responsible for the outcome. And, we have a cost estimate for the road work. There is a phone call that, is it scheduled or?
We're just working on what date works for everybody this weekend.
Right, so there will be a telephone meeting shortly this week, hopefully, with the DEPCOM about Mertz Road. And hopefully there will be a mutually acceptable resolution of the repair costs for Mertz Road. As you know, you and I have been working on that Weavers Road. The costs are settled on that, but since the Mertz Road issue was not resolved, I was holding off on finalizing the Weavers Road. Hopefully we could wrap it together and have a financial commitment for repairs that covers that overage on Weavers that we've already, I think, agreed on a number for, and add to it the commitment for the Mertz Road repairs once that number is mutually agreed upon. So that's one issue. And do you have any questions about that issue?
No, I don't think so. I've seen the cost estimate, and I think there's just some additional communication that has to be wrapped up on that. But I think in concept, that's agreeable to do, and we understand that's why the other contribution agreement hasn't been finalized yet.
Right. Okay. And then the other issue is that it's the township's opinion that we still have some outstanding stormwater issues, that expectations are not met with regard to the impact on downstream property owners from stormwater coming through the Heelstone project. And so we had some discussions just today with the Conservation District about possible measures that could be considered to try to provide some additional stormwater management. And I think an initial concept could be another restrictor at the first detention basin, the one closest to Fleetwood Lions Road, similar to what was installed at the other basin to regulate the flow of water leaving that basin, basin number 1, I guess it is. So, but I think that's just a concept for discussion. I mean, we would look to the project engineers to evaluate that. There would need to be calculations done and presented to the Conservation District for them to be satisfied about what the impact would be of adding that restrictor plate. Our discussions with the Conservation District were that this could be handled through submission of information to the Conservation District without a new permit or without a permit amendment. So to try to keep it as reasonable and practical a process as possible and focus on having practical benefits and not getting to too much, permitting. But I think we're also open to alternative designs. The restrictor plate would just be one possible concept for providing additional benefit. And the benefit that we're seeking is, I believe, to just reduce the volume of flow going to the downstream property. And that restrictor plate would keep some water in that basin for a longer period of time, which could have the effect of at least some infiltration occurring on the Hillstone property and not as much water coming downstream. At least hypothetically, that's the discussion that we had. So we are looking for that additional stormwater a mechanism to reduce flow of water, whether it's a restrictor plate like the other one or some alternative that your engineers might conceive of. And ultimately, it has to be agreeable to the township and agreeable to the Conservation District.
So in which infiltration basin are you trying to retain water in?
So it's not the infiltration basins, but it's the two inline, trying to go off of what the plan calls them, but the dry basins.
Detention basins?
There's basin 1 and 2, nearest to the railroad and then nearest to Fleetwood Lions Road. The one nearest the railroad where the plate was installed, I think there has not been the large storms to see how it operates, but there has been small storms, and that's everything Chris was saying. I think that's the one thing I would just add to it, is that it's the smaller storms, like the 1 year, 2 year type storms. There does not seem to be much for water being retained at all. And the upper basin where that weir was put on, we're seeing that, but it still seems to be just a steady flow through that last pond and just a straight pass through, where it doesn't seem that those the smaller year storms are having any kind of effect. And the thought with the discussion we had was that type of improvement could address that, that basically what we're seeing in the field.
So, and there is actually a pipe coming out of that detention. I think would that be detention basin 2 that you'd be talking about?
It's the last one before.
It's not the one.
Property.
It's not the one that the restrictor plate was put on.
No.
This is the last one before.
And that has its outfall structure.
That is the one with the full spillway, berm, and everything leading from the entire property.
Okay.
It takes both infiltration ponds and the basin that had the restricted plate on it. That's where everything goes before it releases from the site.
Okay. So, and I'm just trying to get my bearings on the property. So, but that's the infiltration basin nearest the substation. We're not talking about that,
No.
correct? Okay.
No.
Okay.
And then there's the other infiltration basin furthest from the station. Those two are the infiltration. Those are not the ones that we're looking at.
The detention basins come through and release kind of in the middle of those?
They both feed into the basin that we're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the,
I wish I would have.
it's the southernmost or
Northernmost.
northernmost. Yeah. northernmost.
Gets me every time.
Yeah.
Would it be a different kind of restrictor or weir than what was put in the other basin, or are you looking for something similar to what was done?
I think the discussion was something similar, or if there's kind of that better machine that somebody comes up with that could work, yes. And that was part of the discussion we had with the district, because obviously they're holding a permit as well. So the idea was, if we went that route, now that they've been able to see the first basin, and they don't necessarily, they want to see documentation, but they basically said we don't see it being a issue. A lot of the pictures that we have kind of demonstrated for the district that this is really what we're seeing, but it seems to be getting to the heart of what we're trying to accomplish here on the, again, the smaller storms.
Okay, and when you're talking about documentation for it, what do you mean by that? As-built showing the weirs installed, or?
I think the district's just gonna want us, on their end, I think what they were asking for was, one, yes, just kind of a documentation of what would go in, but also just the rerouting of the numbers to see that it's still going to function. They're looking at, and that's part of what we discussed today, is they're looking at bigger storms, which is the 5-year up to the 100-year. So they just want to show that those numbers still work the way they should.
Yeah, I guess in my layman understanding, we want to make sure that if we add something to regulate the smaller storms, that we don't mess up the planning for the bigger storms.
Yeah. Which again, something similar to the first basin there, it was a relatively small improvement to the overall site and stormwater, but it seemed to be kind of what may help this situation.
Right. Do you recall if were calculations done for that weir?
There were talks of them, and I don't think we ever received those. Not that they didn't have them that they could produce, because we did talk about, in the end, what numbers would be required. So I think they have those, but.
We had a pretty simple request. Have that retention pond retain more water and release it slowly. That's all we're asking to do.
Right.
We're not redesigning this whole thing. Simple way to do it. There's a couple different, and we don't even care. The weir solution probably will work. And it'll have that upper spillway, which will give you the relief you need in a larger storm. But the way it is now, it's a pass-through. Anything that comes out there passes straight through and goes down to lower property, the next property. It has to be addressed. It's not what they agreed. And I don't think we have to redesign the whole world. We just have to, that upper basin might as well be a pipe. Everything just goes, what comes in, goes out. We have to retain that water and release it slowly. Doing something with that weir with a small hole in it, the water fills up, the pond comes up, it's released to a small hole. It doesn't cause hate and discontent downstream. A lot of that hopefully goes into the ground before it even gets to the neighbors.
Right.
It doesn't have to be crazy.
Right.
We don't, like I say,
Right.
let's not overthink this whole thing. Let's just come up with a simple solution. And I don't think conservation, they didn't have any objection to it. Unless, I was reading.
No, they said they'd like to have it on paper just to document it, but they're not looking for any kind of a significant amendment in any way.
So they're not asking to redo the stormwater report, not submit that.
That was the impression that I got.
And that's, I think that's the main concern is because those calculations have been submitted and accepted, and it was complicated math to do. If there's a way to install the weir and keep the calculations of the documentation relatively informal with the conservation district, for them to approve.
And I believe it.
I think
That was the conversation.
Yeah.
That is what they said. They'd be agreeable to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to take that back to them and see if they're what they can do. They'll have to, I'm sure, probably reach out to Kimberly Horn. But I think the initial weir that they put in went relatively smoothly and.
It did,
Yeah, and I think if it's limited to that being the request and we don't have to redo the stormwater management report and, you know.
I keep reminding them, we haven't smoke tested any of this yet. Ever since this has been completed, we've been in a drought or severe drought. So we don't know what's gonna happen.
Right.
But I can tell you that if we're getting water through, so.
If the other restrictor plate's working in your observations at this point, I mean, that.
I think it will. I think it's a good solution. There's a number of solutions I think will work, but they know how to make one now, so
Right,
just copy what's up top there. I think we'll go from there.
okay,
That'd be fun.
okay. I can take that back to them. I think in concept, doing something like that, you know, they would certainly be willing to evaluate and see if they can,
I would hope.
if they can have another one manufactured like that.
All right, thank you. So, but if you don't have any questions about what we just discussed, and you'll take it back to your client, I would recommend the board consider a motion to approve the, how many day extension?
You're asking for
180. 182, right?
180.
Yeah, that would get us, the number of days gets us to the next, the township meeting would be 6
I'm glad
months.
you calculated that way, that's 182 days.
I'll make a motion that we give you that relief for 182 days.
Upset.
All in favor?
Aye.
It may be different than other days too, but to count it out. It'll be within a day or two.
Well, I assume you looked at the calendar.
Contest my math, I tried to count it out. so that's
Okay,
what
you
I'm
did,
saying.
all right.
But, yeah, we just wanted to get, as long as it goes to the meeting, is that one. The contribution agreement, will you get that sent back to me when it's ready?
Yeah,
the
I mean,
proposal?
what I'm anticipating is just adding the merged road number to it, as soon as that is finalized. And then I'll communicate that with you, and, you know, either I'll mark up the agreement or I'll tell you what needs to be changed, but I'll get back to you one way or the other.
Okay. Okay.
Even though it's Mark Weaver. I guess it's.
Yeah.
Okay, just confusing. I just want to make sense.
I caught that too and asked them to change it.
Yeah, we had that question as well. That was an estimate from Mark's.
Yeah,
Right?
That,
Yeah, it said
figured
Weaver, but we figured the same thing.
There was a few emails back and forth, but he eventually had one of the right names.
Oh, there's one. Yeah, okay. Okay.
Okay. Was there anything else with the project to take back to?
None that I'm aware of at this point.
No, I mean, the only other thing, and I know that was part of their report, was the conservation district said that the timing of the infiltration basin still needed to be double checked. The numbers were working, but it just wasn't clearing out by the 72 hours. That it
Yeah, it wasn't making the 72 hours.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
don't think that's anything
Was it-
that,
it was-
that your team wasn't aware of, because it was part of their report, they said, so.
Yeah, they are. I'm not sure if there's a solution on that yet or what they've looked into.
They thought maybe
contract.
the grading of the bottom of the basement relative to the position of the outflow pipe, was that?
I think the contractor was thinking it was a function of the freeze thaw that we've been going through.
No,
That was basically not letting it infiltrate at the rate it should. So
all right,
I think we're at that point. If we get a rain, we'll find out, but
okay, so I guess the jury's out on what the problem is.
and that's conservation districts watching for that one. So, yeah, I don't think we have any other.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
One thing, we start at 6 now. I just thought you should know.
Yeah, well, no, I understand that. I've been coming here for years,
I
and
know.
it's always been at
I
7,
guess
so
we didn't let you know. Sorry.
I appreciate you.
I sent you a message, I don't know if you got it.
Well, I'm sure I was driving over,
Yeah.
so, yeah, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for
Thanks.
being back.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
have a good evening.
Thank you. Good night.
We're gonna head out. Thank you so much. We
All right.
appreciate you hearing us out.
Don't take it personal.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, but thank you very much for listening.
Now we'll go back to the road work.
Sure. So I did send Jen, I can give an updated version there of the estimates that we had. Leading up to the last meeting, we added Farmer's Drive. I know that was one Robbie had on his radar, so we kind of got the estimate, and that was basically to just do an overlay. It's starting to get to the point. Yeah. So with that, that puts us at a 376 total. Without that, that's at a 324. I think budget, I wasn't keeping on top of this. I think it was at a 300, correct?
150 from each.
Yeah, so,
300.
and then Robbie can speak to the other numbers there because he was,
Another account or whatever.
yeah.
So Farmer's Drive, that was never topped when PennDOT or I think it was Roadcon did the roundabout. So there's some holes that are starting to top. Has 19 millimeter on it. That's the only reason that that's on there. So my thought was to try and get all of the roads that butt up against 222 paved before they start the 222 project. That way we have nice roads and they'll be videotaped when the construction starts so we can properly be reimbursed if there's some road damage. So that's why Farmer's Drive is on there. Scott kind of thought the prices may be a little cheaper than his estimate. He also said that we could do, have farmers on there as an alternate, and then we can always take that off the list and get it done next year. So I think we've done that in the past before and haven't had any problems.
Yeah. That's what I would do. I would have farmers as an alternate.
Okay. Yeah, ironically, the past couple bids that we've been looking at, the paving costs have not skyrocketed like the index said it would. And I don't think we're out of the clear of knowing which way by the time summer gets here on cost, but they're still very close to the way we've been estimating these in the past as far as numbers we're seeing. And I know you have about 3 contractors that like the Richmond Township contract. So they always tend to lean into the bid when we put it out. But, so I guess if that's, and we did hold off to see what, from last month to just see what happened. I think the index went up that they all use as a basis for how they bid, but the prices are still very competitive to what we saw last year and similar years. So, yeah, if you'd like, we can proceed with this with the understanding that farmers is an alternate.
Yeah.
And we can compare the bids if that's,
I'll make a motion that we go with this and keep farmers as an alternate.
I'm second.
All in favor?
Now we're gonna put this to advertising then, Scott.
Yeah, I will, we'll wrap up the contract, advertise it, open all before the next meeting, so we can have a discussion then. Okay, other than that, I don't have any other items to,
I just wanted
unless there was something I missed.
Add one thing, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. When they did the planning commission meeting for sheets, there was question from the planning commission board about electric chargers over there for electric vehicles. And
So
they
it's
said
the
that-
latest.
They said there was, they went to the high ups and they said there was no plans for that. I just saw March 11th in the Reading Eagle that PennDOT actually received a grant to actually put an electric charging over at Sheets. So they're going to have electric vehicle charger over there now. It wasn't part of their actual plan to do that.
PennDOT pays for it?
Apparently, PennDOT actually got the grant for it. It was an $825,000 grant. Yeah.
They paid to fill my gas.
I thought that was kind of odd because they came through and everybody was like, is there going to be a charging system? They're like, yeah, that we went to the high ups and it was not supposed to be part of the plan or anything, so there's no chargers. but apparently PennDOT went through for grants and it got approved, so there's gonna be an electric vehicle charger there. Because they said, who's gonna stay there long enough to actually charge your vehicle, you're not in a grocery store or anything, going in there for 45 minutes to an hour.
Probably went into the previous thought about it.
Yeah, so there's going to be a charging unit now, and that's from PennDOT. Interesting. So that was it, just wanted to add that.
So they're still giving grants out for that.
Yeah,
Interesting. Well, that would be exciting. Anything else?
That is all I have.
Solicitor.
All right, let's see. We filed 3 liens. We're going to notify those property owners, give them a week or 2 to see if they react when we mail the liens to them, and then we're going to file DJ complaints on those same properties. And this is something I had asked for authorization a month or 2 ago from the board to pursue DJ complaints on these properties. We do have a payment plan request that I want the board to act on tonight. That is for account number 1242. The owner was offering to pay $600 by April 3rd and then $200 a week until they're caught up. Did you get that check?
yes.
Okay. If people are willing to pay, I think it's always
Absolutely.
Yeah, that-
good to agree to that. So could I have a motion to approve that payment plan?
I will make a motion that we approve that payment plan for account number 1242.
I will second.
All in favor?
All right, there's nothing else that I have.
Chris, what about these other ones that are above 1,000 now?
Well, I guess, did we send letters to the other ones? The ones that are on the list for liens, Janet sent letters to.
Yes.
So now we have the first
1057 and 1101.
Yeah, did they get letters, or if not, maybe this would be the time?
Yes, they did get letters and got no response, and they did check with Pam's, and no payments have been made on them.
All right, so we could follow up with the same procedure we do with the other 3. I don't know if we talked about maybe not doing too many at once. I think maybe that was the conversation, was to,
I just want to make sure they got letters.
yeah. But in any event, yeah, why don't we process these 3 first?
See what happens.
I think that's the way to proceed. Okay, all right. Thank you. Okay, PennDOT. I believe Brian signed the letter that we had prepared and reviewed with the board, and I haven't heard back from Mr. Molinaro on that. Have you?
He called today, I think did he call you, Sam?
We did not.
Okay. You received the letter, he wanted to go over some of the information that was on there to try to meet with someone. I had given him Sam's phone number because he wanted to meet with either Sam or Brian or both and discuss some issues he had with the letter.
Yeah, because I started the conversation. We met here to discuss the plan and what we were looking for. It all looked good, but the devil was in the details.
Okay, well, it sounds like you're probably the best person to follow up with him on that.
That's familiar with the whole thing.
Do you want me to be involved in that conversation or not?
Yeah, I think if it gets to that point, especially if he's, maybe we can do a phone conference or something, and I have his contact information.
Okay. He had called today, I gave him your cell number, he said he was gonna reach out to you right away, so I don't
He
know.
probably just didn't get that.
Okay.
I know that he called me today.
Okay.
I was kind of out of touch for a while. But yeah, probably I'd like to set something up where we do a conference call.
Okay.
Because then we can, I just want to make certain we're all on the same page. I mean, I really would like to pursue this whole thing.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that he doesn't, I don't know, did you I don't know if you got any impression at all from him, but did he think we were changing the deal or something?
No, he just said he had some questions, and I said Sam would be the best person to speak to. I said, because he speaks to a lot of the Mennonite community, he knows what they need to have for the horses and buggies and the bicyclists and stuff like that.
Okay.
And I said, he said, because he had some issues, but he said he wanted to just get everything out in the open so it can be discussed and put on paper.
Is this where you were getting rid of the lights and the complicated?
Yeah, there was
All
some
that.
stuff there I didn't think was necessary. And I
It's not,
told,
not gonna be used probably.
we discussed that right from the get-go. that
Yeah.
We thought it was pretty silly. And I think we made the changes that we needed to get the width, get the stupid turn out of there. I thought we were heading down the right road. But then this whole thing of us taking over basically ownership of the whole thing.
Well, the way the agreement was written says we were gonna pay for the construction costs and maintenance, and it has electronics involved, so it's gonna be a lot.
Yeah, see, that never came up. I don't know where that all came from, but yeah, like I said, the devil's in the details. So I just have to see, you know, are they pushing back at this point, or where are we with the whole thing?
All right, well, maybe set something up.
But yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Okay.
And we'll send you an invite.
Okay.
Take care from there.
So that's the shared use path agreement. And then there are two other agreements that PennDOT is looking for. One of them is on here, the roundabout agreement. What I had asked for was that the new roundabout would be subject to the same conditions as the existing roundabout.
I read that.
And specifically, what I was objecting to was that the pavement markings and signage were assigned to the township. And in the existing roundabout agreement, PennDOT had agreed to bear the costs of pavement markings and signage. So it appears in the revised version that we just got that they are accepting those changes. So at this point, I don't have any objection to the roundabout agreement. I mean, it's still burdensome to the township, but it's a better agreement than the initial draft at least. So
Do we take care of the signs of it?
We don't need it. No. The only thing we take care of is the center.
The center,
So,
Does the state pay the lighting too?
no, we pay the lighting bill.
No.
Yeah, the lighting is ours, and that's true with the existing one, it'll be true with the new one as well. So, you know, they install, but then we have to maintain and electrify. And that's my experience everywhere. I mean, I don't think that we're gonna get out of that. So, I don't know if you want to look at it some more, and maybe do it with these other agreements, I'm not sure. They're looking for us to start approving stuff. I didn't ask Jen to have an execution copy for you tonight. I wanted to review it with you and see if you were okay with it. Maybe what we do is, if you are okay with it, we could just have an execution copy ready for next month, or if you want, we could approve it and have you sign it before.
What's the difference in these two that we have here? I have two roundabout maintenance agreements. Are they the same?
Let me see.
I'm just trying to look at the numbers.
I mean, that's just a duplicate copy.
Okay,
Sorry.
never mind.
Yeah, these are the same. It shows the changes.
That's the changes
Yeah,
are in there.
Okay.
But the changes that we made, you're comfortable with?
Yeah, like I said, it's no worse than our agreement with the existing roundabout.
Okay, that would have been my concern, because they seem to want to push responsibilities into our
Yeah,
camp, and I'd rather not do that.
I mean, their first take was to push that stuff on us, and
Yeah.
to the extent that we can push back, I knew that there was at least a possibility to get those items, and they seem to be agreeable to that.
I don't see a reason why we shouldn't approve this evening.
Okay.
I'll be fine with it.
Okay.
You need just a simple motion.
Yes.
Okay, well, then I will make a motion that we approve the agreement number 057613 for the roundabout maintenance agreement for the new Richmond Township roundabout. All in favor?
Right, and related to these PennDOT agreements, there's a third agreement that the department wishes the township to enter into, and that is an omnibus agreement for traffic control devices in the township. So the question I asked the department was, what traffic control devices exist in the township that would be subject to this agreement? And it turns out that there is a cattle crossing on the Bittler farm, and there's a cattle crossing at the Schlegel farm. And those are PennDOT permitted traffic control devices. There are actually 2 PennDOT permits for the Schlegel farm going back to 1982. And I think that there was an initial installation, and then it was upgraded, and there was a second installation at the Schlegel farm. And then with regard to the Bittler farm, there must have been a request by DECA to have some kind of signage, because the Bittlers were taking cattle across their street, I forget what street it is, but between 2 parts of the farm, they were taking cattle across the road, and DECA wanted some signage. So there's an electronic crossing there. We have, and that was from 2010, there's an agreement between the township and DECA that DECA bears the cost of maintenance. So as to PennDOT, the township is responsible, but as to the township, DECA is responsible. So I'm fine with that Bittler sign.
Just the Bittler.
Just for Bittler, but for the Schlegel sign, there is no agreement that Jen has found, although the way the correspondence reads from 1982, there's an implication that Schlegel's asked for it and were willing to pay for it. I think they paid for the installation. But I asked Jen to contact Schlegel and ask if they're using it.
Is that the one on 652?
Yeah.
Yeah, to my knowledge, they haven't used that in years, because I don't think they have pasture on the other side of the road.
Right.
So I
So
don't think Kenny, I don't think
I thought maybe Bittler had.
the Bittlers have read that now, so, but
I haven't seen that used in years.
Yeah.
So the question is it in use, or is it intended to be used in the future? And if so, they need a permit. And if they need a permit, I want them to sign an agreement similar to the one that we have with DECA, so that we don't bear the cost of maintaining it. On the other hand, if Schlegel would say, we're never going to use it again, we're not using it now, then I would suggest that they agree to surrender their permit. And we would then communicate with PennDOT regarding that, and then that would be crossed off the list. So right now, there are 2 permits for the Schlegel property and 1 permit for the Bittler property. And they are the subject of this omnibus traffic control device agreement that PennDOT wants us to sign, which basically says any permitted traffic control device in the township is responsible for maintenance, repair, and replacement. And so we want to be very cautious about how far we extend our responsibility. So
makes sense.
So my suggestion would be to see what Schlegel says.
Just a couple questions. Are they looking at it as all those locations are currently from older permits already permitted
Yeah.
with the township? So it's not you're now taking them over. It's
No.
just,
No.
we want
Those
to
are
capture
Yeah, this concept that if there's a
That's what I
permit,
assumed.
the township is responsible has always existed.
Yeah.
But they don't have this agreement documenting with all the burdensome language and liability and insurance. I mean, there's all kinds of bells and whistles with this agreement.
Does it list the locations
The
specifically too?
agreement does not list them, that's
So
why
that's why I was
asked.
trying to say that. And where I was going with that one is is there anything with the school? Because I know the school zones, if there's flashing, that's another, and I just,
Well, I
I don't know
wonder
if the
if there
school has
used to
those
be
on
one at the
crisscross.
elementary school. in
Richmond?
The one, well,
Yeah, it's
yeah, there probably
Richmond.
was one, but it may have gone away when the school sold the property.
what about crisscross? Is there one there?
I mean, we'll,
No.
across the Willowcrest.
There's not,
It's
okay.
just signage here.
Yeah, you're right, there isn't, it's just.
And I just didn't want that to fall
Well,
in where we
I
have the
asked them
opportunity
the
to talk to
question
the
of
school.
what permits do we have? Because I thought,
Okay,
yeah,
so
there could
you're
have been a
thinking-
school one. That was what I was thinking was a possibility. But the only ones that came up with were the three that I already mentioned.
The only other thing I was, not to keep throwing things in there, but assuming that, not the Bitler, what was the other farm? Schlegel, if they do agree that they haven't used it and they want to surrender the permit, PennDOT may say, okay, then you need to dismantle that and take it down, which just kind of the one thing that they'll typically say is, okay, take it out of
We
operation.
tell them we abandoned it in place.
Yeah.
We pull the plug.
Just throwing that out there because we'll see that from time to time on certain things with them. Okay, now, show that you've taken it away or however, but.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what they say. But I mean, the process would be to see what Schlegel says
I'll
about
give
this.
them a call tomorrow.
And then, so I'm not ready to recommend approval of that agreement until we have the full scope of responsibility understood. And then, I don't think there's anything we can really negotiate about it other than to try to limit our liability in the manner that I described.
I agree.
Okay, that's all I have on that.
All right. Spec engineering. Folks, very little to report.
No questions there.
No miscellaneous business that I'm aware of. Robbie?
I don't really have anything. The only thing that I was gonna talk about with Scott with the roadway, that's about it.
Okay.
So, I want the people from the Willowcrest development, that emergency access road, that's been a problem for a long time.
I remember discussing
We've done numerous different things there, and each time we get something back, we change it, and it seems like it's just an ongoing thing. And there are signs on either end that say emergency access or something emergency access. It's red letters and it has a white sign. So as far as us doing something there, I don't know what else we can do there.
Well, I got that from the impression from them, people were using that road.
No, it can't be
But
used.
they were assuming they could, coming in there on their GPS.
Is it a chain that goes across?
It's a plastic chain.
I thought it was a breakaway
It's a
chain, you
chain,
can go right,
yes.
right, you can get through.
Yeah. So I don't know what else can be done there. I mean, they also have to keep in mind it's a public road.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So very frustrated with the park and the development there. They say they don't want to park, but we have kids playing in the cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
On a public road. Now, I don't want to be the bad guy, but that's
You can have your cake and eat it too.
that's what I mean. So it seems like it's always one thing after another, and I tried to do the right thing, and then it's not good.
Right.
I need to change it, and I'm not sure what else can be done with that particular emergency vehicle access road. So
Yeah.
Take it out.
Yeah. I don't know that anybody ever uses it.
I mean, do any emergency services have they ever used it?
I mean, not that I know of. The only thing that I think that it would be convenient for is that if Fleetwood Fire Company needed to come through there, they wouldn't have to go all the way around Walnut Town would probably come down Pleasant Hill and go crisscross.
So that would be really the benefit, would be accessed by Fleetwood.
Either
Fire Company.
Fleetwood or the ambulance that's at the fire company, but I can't answer for that.
I mean, the tearing it up would be kind of a cost up front, but you could do the lockdown bollards, that if they have a key for it, granted, somebody has to jump out instead of doing the breakaway, unlock it, take it out, put it off to the side, and then drive through.
I thought I talked before they wanted to break away. That's.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm just throwing out.
So we have
the breakaways from.
Yeah, we started with the breakaway chain. We started with that. Then there was concerns that there was some lady that couldn't get through on a tricycle that she wanted to drive through from that development to the other development on a pedal bike. We took the chain away. We put up a delineator in the center. And there was all sorts of kids riding back and forth. And then we left the delineator in the center and put the chain back up. I don't know if the delineator is still there. They're just like a tar stick-on thing. But that's what we've done there over the past couple of years, just to give you guys
The other solution might be if emergency services doesn't need it, if they think it's not worthy of having it. Restrict it for bicycle and foot traffic. Close it off so you can only get,
Make it narrow enough.
make it a narrow opening of 6 feet, 5 feet.
You were saying somebody complained about that.
Yeah, when we had, it's only like an 8 foot wide pass. So we put up the delineator dead center so you could go around it with said bicycle and whatnot, and that didn't go over well. So now we went back to the chain and the delineator.
What was the problem with that?
It was getting to use too much.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so this is where we're at with that, and I don't want to be mean, but it's one thing after another, and I can't tell the Amazon driver, hey, you can't go through there. A sign, it is what it is.
It's like checkpoint Charlie.
I don't know. I don't know if there's anything else to do there. Is what I'm saying. So.
Yeah, trying to get that taken off of any mapping program, forget about it.
I mean, it doesn't, I don't know about GPS, but it doesn't show up, that little access road doesn't show up on Google Earth. But I can't say for GPS.
Yeah.
So.
Well, all these companies, like Amazon, have their own mapping program. And they come up, I have that same problem at our place. I use our private road all the time.
Right.
And just to the point where I just stopped taking deliveries from Amazon. Never had a problem with UPS, FedEx, anything. It's a whole different world with Amazon. They do their own thing.
Right. So, I mean, I just want to give you guys some history on it. It's not that.
Yeah, I remember this coming up.
Yeah, it's come up multiple times. There's two wooden posts that we could maybe just put a tiny no throughway sign. I don't know. That's my only option. But as far as anything else, there's really nothing that can be done there.
Well, maybe we'll take entrance up, take action on the sign out front, and then maybe that'll give them some resolution to it.
Yeah, that's fine. If you guys don't have anything else, I need to get going.
That's fine.
If that no outlet sign, there's a way to say, yes, we can post it. Do you want me to just coordinate with Robbie and have him do that? Then yeah.
If there's any reason why we shouldn't do it, we should not, when I think that, we'll just assume that we can.
Right.
We'll just put it on.
Yeah, I believe there's already some no parking signs along Rhino. So maybe we could just utilize one of those signs, put the no outlet sign on top and move the no parking one to the bottom or something.
The other thing I wanted to mention to you, are we gonna try and do something on Schuler Road, pave the road?
Next week. I talked with Fleetwood Borough. They recently just got a railroad stencil. They want to do some railroad painting. And I said to them, while they're doing that, maybe we can jump on and use their line painter and do that stop bar. So I just need to touch base with Scott to see if there's any particular measurement for that. But it'll either happen this week or next week.
Wonderful.
not certain on that, so.
Good. Very good. Thank you, Rob. Who's left?
Not long way,
Jack.
Treasurer's report. Payment of the bills.
Okay, out of the general fund, we had check numbers 12332 to 12364, including EFTs for $157,521.39.
I'll make a motion with that.
Oh, second.
All in favor?
State fund, we had no checks. Light fund, we had EFTs in the amount of $1,724.30.
I'll make a motion with that.
Oh, second.
All in favor?
Sewer fund, we had check numbers 3397 to 3399, including EFTs for $19,940.17.
Make a motion with that.
Oh, second.
All in favor?
Walnut Town Fire Escrow, we had check number 2204 for $1,005.50.
I'll make a motion with that.
Oh, second.
All in favor?
Virginville Fire Escrow, check number 2209 for $1,005.50.
I'll make a motion with that.
Oh, second.
All in favor?
You do have in your packets the tax collector's sitting dates for this month. April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, they will be here from 6 to 7 p.m. That's a Tuesday, Wednesday, and a Thursday. Tuesday, the 28th, they will be here from 5 to 6, and then the joint comprehensive plan will be meeting after that. And Wednesday, they'll be meeting on the 29th from 6 to 7, and then Thursday, the 30th, from 6 to 7. And I believe, April 23rd, they will be having the zoning hearing board after that meeting. So those will be the dates. I don't know if either one of these are available, the other dates to lock up that. Yes.
I think that week, that 23rd, I'll be away, but the 28th, 29th, 30th, I'll be good for those.
Okay, the 23rd is actually going to be the zoning hearing board, and Alex has a key for the building, so he can lock it up after he's done. So the
Okay, but I'm
23rd
I'm
won't
traveling
be
that
needed.
week, I think.
Okay,
But I can do the other week.
Yeah, and I can do any of those days, 21st, 22nd, 23rd.
okay,
Remind me.
sure. Okay. Michelle is preparing the resolution for the destruction of the right to know request, but I don't have that yet, so we'll save that table that till next month. Kraft had a very informative meeting on the 27th of March for the right to know law with Scott Coburn from PSATS. One of the suggestions that they made was to have an alternate right to know person, an officer. I am the main officer for that. If I happen to be out vacation or an emergency or something, somebody else would need to at least respond to Michelle or Matt Fessler just to let them know that, hey, we have a response here. We need to get back to them to say, hey, we need to have an extension. Because I think we have 5 to 7 business days to get the responses out. So if we happen to have an email from somebody looking for information and I happen to be out for an emergency, we need to let them know that we need to have a response just to request an extension. But we would need to incorporate that in a resolution statement.
Okay.
We're gonna be adding somebody, so whoever,
Who would that be? You're the only person in the office.
correct. Which is fine, I could just reach out to them, like I could check an email just to see, unless we wanna actually add another person, one of the board members.
Yeah, that would be my only thought, that maybe board member, but they would have to have access to that material too.
Right.
You would know that it's.
So do you have any kind of a plan, like if you were to not be able to come in, is there any procedure here at the office for what happens?
If I'm like on vacation or something like that, I don't forward my phone to my cell phone, but if I'm out of the office for something, I usually transfer my phones to my cell phone and I can have access on my personal computer and on my phone to get email. So if there's anything on there that's urgent, I let people know.
What if you are on vacation? Who handles it then?
Nobody does.
You just have a message that the office is closed.
Correct. on an email just stating I'll be out of the office. If this is an emergency, reach out to either Robbie for the roads
We
or.
put it on the website and.
Correct, yes.
I was gonna set a posting of
Well, this
the
is,
office is closed.
yeah,
so
I
now
know,
it
that's what
doesn't
I'm
start.
thinking, it's 5 business days, so if the office is closed, are there any business days? That's a Fessler research question.
Okay.
I think the answer could be that the time doesn't run if the office is closed.
Okay. Yeah, and if I'm on vacation, I usually have something like an automatic response when the email goes through that I'm out of the office, I'll return on such and such a date.
All right, well, let me look into that.
Okay.
That might give you some peace of mind.
Okay.
How long do you go out for vacation?
As long as the letter.
A week at a time, I don't take 2 weeks, just because of payroll and everything else.
Now would have been the time to try to say like, 3 weeks.
No, because I have to have backup for payroll, because it's done every other week, so.
All right, okay.
Okay. You also have in your packets, Burke's Nature. We have donated to them before, for $250 was last year. I don't know if we want to keep contributing to them.
Have you gone to any of their municipal programs?
I have not yet.
It is a resource that they offer the township, supervisors or Jim could take advantage of those seminars or they provide decent lunches. And,
Good information?
yeah.
Okay.
So,
Something we've done in the past. pretty
Yes.
regularly.
Mhm.
And I think it'll continue. Yeah. I'll make a motion that we donate to 250 again.
Okay.
All in favor?
it's a good organization.
I've gotten 2 quotes for sewer billing. One you can see from Diversified Technology, which is a product that Maiden Creek Township uses, and Vadar Systems. I'm waiting on GovTech. We have to do a virtual of their actual package. They won't give me an actual quote until we have our virtual. I have seen the product of Vadar system, and I was not impressed with it. They don't have enough availability for us to add charges for liens, etc. Diversified, I like a lot. It gives us the option to put as many. You speak to one of the residents say, I sent you a check, I'm sorry, it was late, etc. And you put the comments in there, they call back, I'm sorry, this is the first time I've done this. It's documented every single time. They are allowed to pay by credit card, by check, however they want to do it. They give it their own portal that they can go to, which is something that we can actually have on our website. To pay your sewer bill, click the link and it'll bring it up. Everything goes directly into our checking account and everything gets paid. It's a nice system. It's expensive, but it's a nice system. A lot of the other systems are, okay, well, it's not metered. A lot of people are doing the metered, or do we shut it off to, all that stuff, and we don't have that.
Right.
So a lot of places are more expensive because that's one of the things that they offer.
So you're waiting for one more?
I am waiting for one more from that GovTech that I have to do, but so far I like the Diversified Technology they have.
That's what they do.
Yes, and they've used that for 25 plus years.
Okay. Well, that says something.
Yeah, and they do their all of their stuff in-house, so.
I like that too.
So the first year is the big cost, and then after that, it's just 1,000.
Yeah, and they actually sent a little letter along here to make it easier. They said they would do a 3-year cost system for $375 per month. So we wouldn't have to pay everything out of pocket right away.
That makes it easier.
So once I have that virtual with GovTech, I can report back with
How
that.
many customers do we have between the two?
I think it was 375, but they don't, it's,
What? Invoices
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys got a chance to look at the joint comprehensive plan draft that was on there. They were looking to get any kind of comments, feedback, if it looks good, no comments, before their meeting on 23rd. That was 28th, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I will. A lot to absorb here.
Yeah, a lot of information.
No, I'll take a look at it then.
Okay. And does anybody have a preference? I know Brian, I think, wanted to be part of the audit discussion. Roxanne was trying to work that in some point in time in April.
Yeah, he did tell me he wanted to do that.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I've done it in the past, but if you want to do it, that's fine.
Okay, I'll reach out to him and find out about that. All right, but that's all I have.
Chairman's report. Chairman's on here. Was this executive session the one that we had, or did we need to do it?
I thought we ought to have a quick discussion to follow up because we now have some
We'll do that.
activity.
Then we'll come back and.
Okay. Well, do you want to adjourn now? Because I can't turn the recording back on again.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna need to take any official action, so.
Okay. All righty. Then I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay.
No audience makes it an easy transition right into the
We had, we're,
executive session.
they all failed on us. So we don't
They
want
did
to
it in waves though. Sorry again for getting here.
Yeah.
No, that's okay.
Caught up in- I honestly